your thoughts there with sort of working Tez back into this. He hasn't been like in another country somewhere. He's been with the team, but now he is active. He is off the list and active. How is that working process in for him go?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take very long, if any at all, because I mean, you got to remember during indie periods and everything, he's practicing. He's taking throws from Drake May, and he's practicing with those guys. It's only once you get to team and all that that he's doing other stuff. So I mean, I don't think it's going to take all that long to get there in terms of the of knocking whatever rust off. I mean, like you said, he's not been in another country. He's been playing football. And, he's been going against the first team DBs, right? I mean, it's not like he's not been doing stuff. He's going to be just fine. I think this is a plug and play type thing. And the other thing is that, that he's no one trick pony, but he's got one trick that's really, really good. And that's just running by people. And, that's not going to have changed, right? His ability to just get on the horse and run by somebody and be there for a deep ball from Drake May is still going to be there. And that's not going to take any time to adjust on. And that's something that I would expect to see a couple shots early on. I mean, if I'm Carolina, I come out first quarter and I'm letting him stretch his legs a little bit. I'm lining up to get a few shot plays and get him involved and force Syracuse to either bring that safety over the top and cover him and leave somebody like Nate McCollum wide open on, an over concept or something. Or, okay, you're going to try to run with him? Fine. Then we're just going to toss it over the top and see if he can run under it. I'm giving him 2 or 3 of those in the first half. And, that changes the game. We catch one of those and that changes the game.
Yeah, those free touchdowns are nice to have, and they're not free, but they look easy when you can run past. It kind of reminds me, everybody says, oh, all he can do is dunk. Like, all Shaquille O'Neal can do is dunk. Well, yeah.
It's a pretty good trick. You might only have, one trick, but it's a dang good trick.
Exactly.
But he's not a one-trick pony. He's actually a more complete receiver in that respect and can do some of those other things. But he does that one thing really well, and it's the one thing that's been a glaring absence in the Carolina passing game so far this year. And you just have to think back to what a difference De'Ami Brown made for Sam Howell. I mean, how many times did that Carolina team, De'Ami's last season as a Tar Heel, how many times did games just get broken open because there's one-on-one and they just happened to, get the right one-on-one at the right time and they had a vertical called and Sam went over the top and there you got a free 7. Like you said, it's not free, but it's a quick 7. And, you end up winning a 6-point game because that guy beat a guy over the top. I mean, you go all the way back to the Clemson game that year where they really should have beaten Clemson and Keenan. What was Carolina's first score? Do you remember? De'Ami just holding up his hand. Hey, single coverage against this first round pick corner. They're going to try to cover me with this guy. That's disrespectful. I'm going to just take off running. And yeah, he ran right by that first round corner. And all of a sudden it's 7-0. And that changes the complexion of a game. I've said for a while that as long as you've got Drake May, you've got a puncher's chance against just about anybody. And this just adds power to that. It adds a few pounds per square inch to that punch.
Indeed. Greg, what about the pressure factor on Tez? I mean, we kind of talked as this was all shaking out over the last couple months, several weeks, is this guy better be really good, or he's going to have to be really good and almost perfect for people that have watched. I mean, he's still a human being. He still has pressure. He's still got to work it in. But what about that aspect as far as the human aspect of Tez? Tez dealing with this and now getting the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think pressure is really an issue. I think if anything, he's going to have to kind of slow his roll in terms of the emotions of being so excited to get back out there. Because really for the past month, even though he's had some people working for him behind the scenes, there hasn't been a lot of hope really until the end of last week that the NCAA would even consider coming back to the table to talk. And so there were several weeks there where he was dead in the water. And so I think he's going to be so excited to get back out there that's where he has to be careful. I don't think it's a pressure thing. I mean, players at this level, I mean, they thrive on that kind of thing. They're always looking for motivation. What more motivation do you need than being screwed by the NCAA and missing 4 games? So I really do think, if anything, he's just going to have to catch a breath, make sure he calms down just a little bit, and the opportunities are going to be there. I mean, as Jason just laid out, he's a special talent, and you know Drake May is going to be looking for him, and Chip Lindsey is going to have some shot plays there, because that, hey, if we give Drake some time, he's going to have an ability to take a shot down the field. And if the opposing team doesn't send a safety over the top, or their cornerback's not as fast as maybe he thinks he is, that's going to be a relatively easy score, or at least a deep passing play. So I think he's going to be excited. I think it will be fascinating to see. It's kind of cliche, but do you that first play of the game, do you even risk throwing a bomb just to make a point? Maybe
I wouldn't do it on
the
first one. I'd do it on the second one.
Maybe against the FCS team, you could do that, right? I think there's any question he starts. I think they'll roll him out there, and he'll get a thunderous applause and all those kind of things.
There's not a single chance that anybody on that roster is going to have any complaint about him taking their spot as a starter. First of all, they all know he's better than they are.
And guys know when you're an athlete,
you're backing up Michael Jordan, and look, he's not Michael Jordan, but you're backing up Michael Jordan, and you're not bitter that guy's playing a lot more minutes than you are.
Yeah. So how does this? Let's sort of talk about it on the whole. I spoke with some Syracuse podcasts earlier today, and earlier in the week before this news came down, and sort of said Carolina's offenses can be methodical. If they had Walker, it'd be a lot more explosive. Jason, how does this affect the offense from the wideouts all the way in to the running backs? We'll stick with the skills. A guy like J.J. Jones has stepped up and made plays. A guy like Nate McCollum had a huge game, as he's worked back in. How does Tez's presence help these other guys?
What it does is so much of modern offensive football is based on the principle of stretching the defense. You want to stretch them horizontally. Everybody does that with formation. And Carolina does that as much as anybody. I mean, they line guys up with extra wide splits at times, all those sorts of things. I mean, some of the Bryles tree stuff, they'll borrow from some of that at times. And we've seen a little bit of that this year. But you can stretch horizontally as much as you want. If you don't have a vertical threat where you've got to really cover those deep zones, defenses can still pack in certain things, and they can still take away stuff around the line of scrimmage. If you've got a guy that, as they say, can take a top off the defense, can run by whoever you put across from him, now you have to take an extra guy who's just going to make sure that the thing that defensive coordinators worry about the most is one play drives that are scores. Right? You want to make teams earn it. You want to be able to tip your cap and go, okay, look, we were in position. We made you earn it. You had 7 plays. You didn't make a mistake on any of them. You blocked our guys. All right, well, we gave up a touchdown. That's going to happen. What you don't want is, well, there goes that man again. He just ran right by our guy. And, I've got my guy out on an island, and my guy can't cover that guy. So as soon as that starts to be a threat, you start to have to rotate a safety over the top. You start to have to, bail your cornerback out a bunch and just make sure he's playing over the top. And then that means you're going to have to pull somebody out to the flat to play underneath to take away the flat. So you're having to layer things defensively just because of that guy. And as soon as you do that, you roll the safety. Well, guess where that safety's not? He's not over there. He's not close to the line of scrimmage. So this opens up the running game. If you have to commit an extra safety to a deep zone, it opens up other receivers. If you're essentially doubling or bracketing one guy, what happens if you put Nate McCollum at the number 2 receiver inside somebody like Tez? Well, they're going to have to play Tez over the top. You run Tez deep. he takes 2 guys with him, and now you got a one-on-one. They can't commit 2 to that guy, because if they commit 2 to that guy, there's nobody on somebody else, or you're 3-man rushing. And so, a guy like JJ, who's had a breakout the last couple of games, all of a sudden he sees single coverage all game, because you're more afraid of that guy beating you than that guy. Well, all of a sudden he gets opportunities that are a lot easier for him. So, I mean, we saw how much it made a difference when McCollum came back, right? I mean, the passing offense got a real boost when he came back against Minnesota. And now you add the other piece to that puzzle. And, Pitt bracketed McCollum the entire game. Okay, if you're going to do that, you're going to take away McCollum, you're going to have freebies to this guy on the outside, and he's an even bigger play threat. So now you can't bracket McCollum. So now McCollum in some games is going to get another 15 catches. So it forces defenses to pick their poison much more, and opens up a lot more of what you want to do offensively. You can just start playing. You can just start going to wherever the matchup is.
Greg, you talked a lot about Rocky Long in the past, and we've talked about how good he is. How does his game plan change? If you would think, and I say you would think, you would expect them to maybe know this was coming, but I don't know if they possibly could. I don't know what the noise is up at Syracuse, but you get the news on Thursday at 2:00 that now they've got this speedster out there. How does Rocky Long, in your opinion, you love defense, how does a guy like Rocky Long either adjust to this or deal with this for Syracuse, for a defense that's been good this year, pretty good this year?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting dynamic, because all you have to go on is what Tez did last year at Kent State, because he hasn't played yet. And kind of to your point earlier, Tommy, there's a lot of hype surrounding the kid and a lot of potential, but he hasn't proved it yet in a North Carolina uniform. And Rocky doesn't want to be the guy where he proves it against, but at the same time, do you completely change your scheme based on a kid that you don't have that much information on, other than knowing that he's a good wide receiver? And you can't do that. And so there may be a little bit of small changes in place in terms of making sure there's protection on his side. But I don't think you really change what you want to do based on one player, unless maybe it's the quarterback. And then if you get hurt by Tez Walker a couple times, well, then you start making some in-game adjustments to shore that up. But I think, as you said, Syracuse has been good. They've got 8 guys that have 2 sacks. They've been very effective getting after the quarterback and getting into the backfield for tackles for loss. So I think they're going to keep doing what they do. And I think more than anything, it's not allowing Drake May time to sit back in the pocket and have a lot of time to be able to throw the ball deep, because it really doesn't matter if it's Tez Walker or J.J. Jones or whoever. If he's got time to pick you apart, then Drake's going to do it.